This morning, more federal firefighters are heading to Canada. President Biden directed to send resources to help fight wildfires there. According to the White House, the U.S. has dispatched more than 600 firefighters and support staff, along with additional firefighting resources in response to the wildfires. Nearly 9.4 million acres have already burned. The smoke is triggering air quality alerts as far as South Carolina, with New York being impacted the hardest. This is a live look at New York and Manhattan at this hour. You can see just how much smoke is there. The city actually has the worst air quality in the world right now. Detroit, Michigan is also ranking in the top 10 for bad air.
Our Anusha Roy joins us now. And Anusha, some people have a higher risk of health impacts from the smoke than others.
Yeah, what's happening now is highlighting a larger problem, one that's impacting Colorado as well. We're talking about systemic racism and health disparities. So right now, Detroit is one of the cities hit the hardest by bad air quality from wildfires. NBC News is reporting that in Detroit, the Black community was already vulnerable and going to the hospital more frequently because of health issues like asthma. The American Lung Association said the Black community is more likely to also live in areas where there is greater exposure to air pollution as a result of residential segregation. These families may also have less access to health care without the economic freedom to take time off of work when they're sick. So then you add on the wildfire and the smoke that we're seeing on top of it, and it makes the entire situation so much worse. And families are calling it environmental injustice. Those same issues are playing out here in Colorado as well. Colorado's health department has launched a new map to track air quality records for transparency. And then starting on July 15th, any company like refineries or companies that want to drill in areas already disproportionately impacted by air pollution have to submit an environmental justice summary. That includes health data before getting their permit approved.
All right, Anusha, well, thank you for breaking that down for us, because we know a lot of people are certainly impacted by this.
Anyone who was in the Bay Area almost 3 years ago remembers the day the sky turned orange. That was September 9th. It was due to poor air quality caused by smoke from the wildfires burning across the state. It was so weird, as you may remember, surreal. Now, hundreds of wildfires burning in Canada are creating a similar effect. The smoke and haze is also affecting millions of Americans in the Midwest and the Northeast, sparking air quality alerts there. Reporter Laura Aguirre has the story.
From the city that never sleeps to the city that can barely breathe. New York briefly topping the list of world's worst air quality Tuesday by IQAir.com. Iconic views in a haze as smoke from Canadian wildfires drifts into the U.S. Across the Northeast and Midwest, millions of people are under varying air quality alerts. Several cities designated as having unhealthy air for sensitive groups, meaning small children and the elderly should reduce outdoor activity. In parts of Pennsylvania and New Jersey, another threat Tuesday, lightning. Rare, dry thunderstorms are forecast in the Mid-Atlantic region, where NOAA's Storm Prediction Center says conditions are primed for possible wildfire spread.
Fire Center duty officer speaking.
Canadian officials say they're currently tracking more than 400 active fires, and at least 26,000 people were forced to evacuate, unsure of what they have left.
I want to go home, and I'm sure that everybody else here does too.
The country's prime minister making a public appeal for donations to help fire victims.
People can support their neighbors who are facing incredibly devastating losses all across the country.
Back in the U.S., forecasters are watching a cold front that could push the smoke further south and east before week's end.
Anyone who was in the Bay Area almost 3 years ago remembers the day this happened, when the sky turned orange. It was September 9, 2020. It was due to the poor air quality caused by smoke from the wildfires burning across our state.
Wasn't that the weirdest day? Well, now we're seeing the same phenomenon on the East Coast. Look at these incredible images. You can see the iconic Empire State Building shrouded in that orange haze. And the rest of New York City's skyline looks like we're seeing it through an orange filter.
Right. And not only is it just devastatingly weird looking, but it's concerning air quality wise. The conditions are affecting millions of Americans in at least 18 states. ABC News reporter Alexis Christophers has the details.
Millions of Americans are on alert, being urged to stay indoors as much of the Northeast is experiencing the worst air quality on record since 1999. The National Weather Service issuing air quality alerts, stretching west to Ohio and as far south as the Carolinas and Georgia.
These values are not just unhealthy, they're downright dangerous, not just to those who have chronic lung disease or those who are elderly, but also to everyone.
New York City's air quality index peaking above 300, or hazardous, registering among the top 5 worst major cities worldwide.
This is not the day to train for a marathon or to do an outside event with your children. Stay inside, close windows and doors, and use air purifiers if you have them.
In addition to staying inside, medical experts advise wearing a high-quality mask, such as an N95, checking HEPA filters if you have them inside your home, and setting air conditioners in your car and house to recirculate. All that smoke is coming from wildfires in Canada. The country's fire season off to an early start with more than 8.7 million acres burned.
Across the country as of today, there are 414 wildfires burning, 239 of which are determined to be out of control.
While wildfires are not caused by climate change, excessive heat and drought are, and experts believe that's helping fuel longer and more intense fires.
This smoke and fog over New York and the rest of the Northeast is a warning from nature that we have a lot of work to do to reverse the destruction of climate change.
According to Stanford researchers, exposure to unhealthy levels of wildfire smoke for several days is the equivalent of smoking 7 cigarettes a day if someone were outside the entire time. Alexis Christoforous, ABC News, New York.